Coming up on Broncos Weekend, we have hit the home stretch of the season, and as Denver heads to Detroit, the Broncos are right in the mix of a wild AFC playoff picture.
This last quarter poll, there's a lot at stake, and so we've got to win these work days. We've got to win today.
Every week, Courtland Sutton is doing something amazing, but where can the offense go from here?
Courtland's been special all year. He's been working at it every day. He's such a tremendous talent.
And on defense, how does Denver quiet the roar from Jared Goff and the Lions' high-powered attack?
This is another must-win game for us.
We go one-on-one with Justin Simmons and offer our bold predictions. That's next on Broncos Weekend. Hello, and thank you for joining us here on Broncos Weekend. I am Phil Milani, alongside the Hall of Famer, Mr. Steve Atwater, and Super Bowl 50 champ Ryan Harris. We are getting you ready for kickoff against the Lions. And guys, our main story this week is how the Broncos could keep stacking wins. They don't want to let down this week, Steve.
Definitely don't want to let down, especially with the way that you started the season. You need these wins because you never know on down the line if you may have some type of setback. So this is an extremely important game for the Broncos.
It's almost like if they win this game, they're in the playoffs too, because you have other games going on, 9 different games this week happening with teams that are either in the playoffs currently or one game out. So a huge game for your playoffs, but also will be the first time since 2021, weeks 1 and 2, the Broncos would win back-to-back road games. So a huge opportunity as a culture to build that in the building in addition to advancing your playoff hopes.
Yeah, and looking at the standings, there's 6 teams in the AFC that are at 7-6. So it's tight in there. A lot of teams fighting for that wild card spot. And Steve, this is still a good Detroit Lions team, even though they've dropped 2 out of 3.
Yeah, they're a very good team. I think they got the run game. When they get that run game going, they're really good. I think Jared Goff is playing good football. I know he's had some turnovers here as of late, but they've had several games where they've had 3 or more turnovers. But I still think he's a good quarterback for the system that they're running.
And this is where those wins against Kansas City, the win against the Bills, that's where it really comes to play, because you have confidence in that locker room against whoever you play. And you have to get to that point if you want to be successful and be in the playoffs in the NFL. So it really doesn't matter what the opponent is, but this Detroit Lions team is good. Their defense is good. Aiden Hutchinson, defensive end, one of the best in the NFL. You've got Jahmyr Gibbs on the other side, in addition to Jared Goff on offense, a huge offensive line. I mean, multiple players over 310 pounds. So it's good. They're going to have their work cut out for them, the Broncos, but they can get it done. They've proven it, and they have a lot of confidence going in.
These 2 head coaches obviously are very familiar with each other. Dan Campbell played for Sean Payton, coached with Sean Payton, and Sean said that when he turns on this film of the Lions, he sees a lot of Campbell.
They're physical in the running game. They've got a young, talented offensive line. How they play defensively, absolutely. Look, we're in a passion business. And Bill, you talk to me all the time. We're looking for passion people, and he epitomizes that. I'm talking about Dan. For the better part of my NFL career, he's been a guy that, fortunately for me, I've been on the same team with.
And what we're watching for this week is this Broncos offense. Super efficient, scored 3 touchdowns last week. But, Steve, it feels like there's even a little bit more room for them to improve.
Yeah, definitely. I think that we would like to see Russell Wilson on the ground a little bit less, to see him take fewer hits. And also, for me, it feels like when I'm watching the game, I see a lot of short passes and a lot of deep passes, not so much the intermediate passes, not as many of the intermediate passes. And I think that's going to be a big part of them being able to take this offense to the next level. But they've been playing efficient football. As long as they continue to do that, be on the same page, establish that run game, I think we're going to be good.
Steve, this Lions defense, they've been giving up some yards, giving up some points the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, they have. Now, they've been a couple of division games as well, so you expect those games to be a little bit closer than the games that are out of division. So those are kind of a toss-up in my opinion when you play division games. So I don't take too much away from the team for those losses.
I mean, what we've seen too throughout this week of the NFL, even early games and things like that, is it really doesn't matter what your record is. How do you show up and play in the game? Tommy DeVito and all his cutlets in New York say hello, right? So
yeah, exactly.
At the end of the day for the Broncos, it's not about what's happened in the past with the Lions. They have lost games. The Blue blueprint is out there to beat them. Go out and execute your game plan, and it won't matter who you play.
Yeah, and a guy who's been in a lot of these meaningful, important games is Russell Wilson, and he knows what it'll take for this Broncos team to get some wins down the stretch.
We've been playing some of the best football, and we got to stay humble, hungry. We got to keep working. And, and like I said, let's focus on the little things. The big plays are going to happen, the special moments, all that. But if we can make our layups and do the things that we know how to do, I think that gives us a great chance.
The Broncos defense will have its hands full with Lions quarterback Jared Goff. He's the only quarterback to have thrown for more than 3,000 yards in each of the last 7 seasons. For more, here's Denver 7's Troy Rank with our matchup of the game.
The Broncos, they've been on a bit of a heater here, and now they go to Detroit. And Detroit, they've always taken the barbs, the old, we're rebuilding since 1960. But listen, this is a different Lions team. For the last year and a half, they've been one of the best teams in the NFC, in part because of their dynamic offense. But Jared Goff, he's been more like Jared off the last few weeks. Okay, I can't help myself. He's been a really good quarterback, but over these last 4 games, the Lions are 2-2, and Goff is struggling. Why? For the same reason the Broncos are doing well. Goff is dealing with turnovers. Over these last 4 games, 7 touchdowns, 5 picks. The pressure is starting to affect him. He's been sacked 10 times over the past month. Why do I bring this up? Denver's defense, you see it behind me. They are coming from more angles than your geometry class. We got P.J. Lockett safety. We've got Jaquan McMillan coming from cornerback. We've got Baron Browning coming up the middle. Jonathan Cooper from the outside edge. And as Sean Payton said on Thursday, the number 1 priority of the Denver defense this week, affect the quarterback, and then that will create 3rd and long. And the Broncos, over their past 3 games, 14 sacks. That is the key here. If they can get 2 to 3 sacks, it leads Goff to really get rid of the ball just a little bit early. And when he's done that, especially against the Bears, he's been off. It's been behind the receiver. It's been tipped. It's led to these interceptions. And realize, the Lions are dangerous. They have speed on the outside. They've got Brown. They've got Gibbs coming out of the backfield. So it is dangerous when you blitz, because if they get the ball to Gibbs and it's time right, it's going to come down to one defender stopping him in open space. So that's not a great matchup. But this Denver defense is playing with confidence. They believe they can take the game into their own hands. Alex Singleton told me earlier this week, we're no longer reacting to the offense. We're making the offense react to us. So if the Broncos can be effective with their blitz, and Goff has 5 interceptions against the blitz this year, that's 2nd most in the NFL. If they're effective with the blitz, it will be Jared off, and the Broncos will be on to another win in Detroit.
Thank you very much, Troy. Good stuff there. Ryan, I wanted to ask you about this Broncos pass rush, because it's not just 1 or 2 guys coming off the edge. They're bringing pressure from everywhere.
Yeah, you had P.J. Lockett, a fantastic strip sack fumble last week against the Chargers. I think you're going to see more of that. The Lions do like to run the football and move the pocket, so a great way to shut that down is to bring some outside safety or corner pressure. So I believe we'll see that. Jonathan Cooper's been playing well, Baron Browning. Alex Singleton is having a Pro Bowl year. Amazing what he has been able to do. And you add that to Patrick Surtain and Justin Simmons, this defensive unit for the Broncos. There are a lot of guys who can get off after the quarterback, and it starts with the 4 up front.
I got a question for you, Ryan. How does an offensive line, look at the Detroit Lions, how would they attack a defense when they're coming from all the different areas like that? How can they protect the quarterback?
Well, one, it starts with, I anticipate the Lions doing some screen passes to mitigate that rush. Also, you're going to go hurry up, especially at home, stay on the ball, hurry up to try and attack a defense, figure out, okay, this is their personnel. We're not going to let them leave the field. So we at least know which of these players in this personnel grouping has the likelihood to come. So I expect that from the Lions, and I'm sure Sean Payton expects it as well, as that's what he would do in the same situation at home against a talented team.
Yeah, but these guys off the corner, they've been really bringing in. And hard to know when PJ's coming, it's hard to predict that. So we'll see what happens this Saturday night. We're going to take our first break. When we come back, we'll go inside the Broncos locker room with Justin Simmons. And our key stat will offer some perspective on just how well this Broncos defense has been playing. That's next on Broncos Weekend.
I feel like, though, the difference this year and maybe the past, like we would probably get a win in the past, but I feel like now it's kind of like going to every game. It's more like everyone believes we're going to win a game. Just everyone believing and everyone being all in.
Carl Mecklenburg, Rulon Jones, Dennis Smith, Steve Wilson, Tony Lilly, Darren Como, Barney Chavis, Steve Busick, number 58, and Ken Woodard, number 52, performed the perfect tricks that made the Lions all but disappear.
Our memorable matchup from 1984, the Broncos beat the Lions 28-7 in the Silver Dome. It's notable, though, because Denver had 10 takeaways, the most in a single game in franchise history. Guys, the NFL record, by the way, is 12. And that leads us to our key stat. The Broncos are second in scoring defense and lead the NFL with 18 takeaways since Week 7. The Broncos are the only team to have a plus 10 or better turnover margin since Week 7. We are back here on Broncos Weekend. Phil Milani alongside Steve Atwater and Ryan Harris. 10 turnovers, guys. You ever heard of something like that?
That's a lot of turnovers. And, you know, when you make those kind of you create those turnovers, you have the confidence that you can do it again.
Oh, yeah.
We've done it. It's not just a theory that, hey, you practice like this, you're going to create turnovers. No, we've done it every single game, and that's a beautiful thing. And I'm hoping they can continue this streak of getting those turnovers.
And turnovers don't just change who has the ball, the possession. It also changes doubt and confidence of the opponent. So especially coming into this Detroit game with the Broncos, you got to get some more turnovers as they have this season. 10 would be great.
Yeah.
We'd love for them to set a new record at 13 if there's time. But at the end of the day, it impacts the game drastically. Offensive coordinators change their plays they're going to call. They change their packages they're going to run. Anytime there's a turnover, it really causes a ripple effect in favor of the team that creates it. And as every game in December in the NFL, it's going to come down to turnovers in Detroit.
7 interceptions, 3 fumbles in that one. We'll see if this Broncos defense can match that. That would be a bold prediction. Let's hear some from you guys now, Steve.
Well, this isn't so bold because it's been happening quite regularly. I'm going to say 2 interceptions by the defense. Jared Goff, I have a ton of respect for him, but I think our defense is playing really well now. They're due for another 2. And also Javonte Williams, he's going to crack that 100-yard mark.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, I got Jaquan McMillan getting another pick for the season. He's been playing fantastic football. Also got Alex Singleton with the pick. He's been close, but I like Alex Singleton making a pick. Goff kind of loses linebackers when I watch the film when he's throwing those intermediate routes. So I think Alex Singleton comes up with one.
Hard to miss Singleton, though, with that hair. Man. That flow, you're like,
I'm so jealous.
Keep an eye.
I'm so jealous.
Well, the leader of this Broncos defense, without a doubt, is Justin Simmons. He's a guy Jared Goff said this week, you always got to know where Simmons is on the field. And right now, he's with Sidney Jones inside the Broncos locker room.
Thanks, Phil. We're inside the locker room here with safety Justin Simmons. Justin, you guys are back in primetime this week, a Saturday night matchup. What's just the focus, the tone here in the locker room this week?
Yeah, that this is another must-win game for us. You know, obviously with coming down the stretch of the season, we want to make sure that we're taking advantage of all the games that we can. And Detroit's a heck of a team, one of the top teams in the NFC, and so an opportunity for us to go, play them at home and to kind of make another statement win.
Justin, defensively, what is it that you've liked about Vance Joseph's scheme this year, specifically, how he's been dialing up a bunch of different pressures lately?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just think he's done a good job of, as you just alluded to, mixing it up and getting different guys involved. And, a lot of the times you're not sure where the pressure is going to be coming from and who it's going to be coming from. And but ultimately, I'm also just really thankful for him and his staff because they've done a great job of emphasizing communication for us and how important that is, because even when we're caught in something we don't want to be caught in, as long as we communicate and we execute it, we'll survive the down, we'll win the down, and we'll get right back on track the next down. So they've just been really good at communicating with us and mixing it up, and I think that's kind of showed itself, when we play.
In the secondary, Justin, what has impressed you so much about P.J. Locke and Jaquan McMillan as they've really stepped up this year? Yeah,
they've been great. And I think, as I just said, the communication aspect of it has been amazing. And just speaking to them individually and, from a meeting standpoint, both J-Mac and P.J. have done such a good job of studying and trying to do a little bit extra in terms of learning and asking questions. And so those types of things I've always found over the years has paid off, and it does pay off. And so I think that's why, it's no mistake that they're putting in the work Monday through Saturday, and then Sunday, we're just seeing the results of it. But seeing how those guys work behind the scenes is the reason for their success and a big reason why we've been doing so well defensively. And so they'll continue to keep doing what they're doing. And, we just got to make sure that we're doing our job as a unit.
Last one for you. Looking ahead to Saturday night, what is it about Jared Goff and that offense? What have you seen on tape about them that's made them so special this year?
Yeah, they're explosive. They're such a talented offense, and it's kind of all over the board. They have really good O-line. They have really dynamic backs, and man, their receiving and tight end core is one of the best that we're going to go up against this year as well. And so we just got to do a good job, one, stopping the run. They do such a good job with the run game, and it kind of sets up the pass game and their explosiveness. But even sometimes when their run game's not going as well, they still find ways to make plays in the passing game. So for us, it's going to be important to get a body on a body in the pass game, give our rush a chance to get home, and but also stop the run. It's going to be the most important thing, and we're going to have takeaways to give ourselves a chance on the road.
Justin, appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Phil, I'll send it back to you.
Thank you very much, Sydney. This Broncos defense will, in addition to Jared Goff, be focusing on that Lions running game. They've got quite the duo, Steve.
Yeah, definitely a great running back duo, and I think that with the coach's mentality, the apple didn't fall far from the tree. Him, being a Sean Payton graduate or tutor, what do we call it?
Student and
student.
teacher.
Yes. So he's going to come in and I believe try to establish the run, and he has two very good running backs to do that with, and we have to make sure that we stop that run first, because if they get that run game going, that opens up a plethora of other problems for us as a defense.
And this is a great challenge for the Broncos. I mean, they win this game against this offense, you can really believe in a lot of the success that's going to continue to come your way. Jahmyr Gibbs is no question one of the best running backs in the NFL, but also David Montgomery. They got two number ones at that running back position. So there are no plays off. If you're a defender, you actually don't know if they're going to pass or run, because both those backs can also catch the ball out of the backfield. So a phenomenal offense, a great litmus test at this point in the season.
Yeah, and as you saw there, 16 touchdowns this season between the both of them. So that's a lot of production.
Get them to rock.
Yeah, exactly. So time for us to take our final break. When we come back, we'll have our keys to victory. And hey, the fantasy playoffs are underway. We'll have our Broncos pick when we come back.
It's an offense that has an experienced quarterback. If the play action pass is working, it's tough to stop them. They have two good backs in Montgomery and Gibbs. They both can hit home runs in the run game, and they have a good tight end and a good receiver. So that's NFL football.
We're not even close to our best, I believe. There's still a lot to improve on, a lot to work on as a defense, and we all know that. We all know there's a little bit left in the tank, and, when we got that mentality and that mindset, a lot of great things could happen.
You might not hear his name or see him too often during games, and that's actually a good thing. Pat Surtain II is quietly having another fantastic season, and he's a big reason for this week's choice, as Sydney Jones explains in our Fantasy Focus.
Thanks, Phil. For this week's Fantasy Focus, let's take a look at Denver's defense. They're coming off a good performance versus the Chargers last weekend, in which they held LA to just 283 total yards and 1 touchdown, forced 2 turnovers, and recorded 6 sacks. Overall, the Broncos lead the NFL in takeaways right now with a 24, and I like their chances going up against Lions quarterback Jared Goff this weekend, as he's recorded as many interceptions in the last 4 games than he did in the first 9 games of the season. Plus, he's been held to under 220 passing yards in back-to-back games. One guy on this defense that I want to highlight specifically is cornerback Pat Surtain. He's been one of the best in man coverage as the nearest defender this season. As you can see here, he ranks 2nd in completion percentage allowed, 1st in passer rating allowed, 1st in yards per target allowed, and 1st in yards per snap allowed, according to Next Gen Stats. Given all of that, and with Denver's defense averaging 12 fantasy points in PPR leagues the past 3 weeks, I think it'd be smart to put that unit in your starting lineup.
Thank you very much, Sydney. Back here at the desk, the interesting thing about this Lions offense to me is they've got weapons at every level. A big wide receiver, the rookie Sam Laporta, the tight end, and then that running game that we've talked about. They can really attack you in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, and that's the problem that they create, because they can throw the ball deep, they can throw it intermediate, they can run the ball, they can do all things well. And if you don't stop them, especially the run game, stop that run game from going, it opens, again, everything else up. It allows them to throw the deep pass, it allows them to do play action, it allows them to do everything that they want to do in their treasure chest there.
And if you want to stop Amon-Ra St. Brown or Sam Laporta, you got to get negative plays on that offense. So for the defense, part of the coaching, if I was the coach coming into the weekend saying, hey, look, I want you to just fire off. If you think it, do it. Trust yourself, because the more that you can get negative plays for the Detroit Lions, put them in 2nd and 13. Put them in 3rd and 10 again, even though they clawed their way up to maybe a 2nd and 5. That has a demoralizing effect on the defense and really limits which players can be effective in key situations.
Laporta is tied with 6 touchdowns. That's the most among tight ends this year. And then St. Brown, 8th in receiving yards in the NFL. So these guys, they've been getting it done this year as well. Okay, it's time for some keys to victory. Ryan, let's start with you.
Stop the run, number one. You got to stop the run. If you hear the names Jahmyr Gibbs or David Montgomery too often, it's going to be a bad day for the Broncos. And then for the Broncos, continue to be smooth offensively. Make the catches that are there. Find these 3rd and shorts, convert those 3rd downs, and continue the success in the red zone you had against the Chargers. Bring it on the road with you again. Pack it in the luggage. Carry on or whatever it has to do, because it has to get there as well, and the Broncos will come out victorious.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I would say offensively, we got to get a fast start. We can't wait till the second half to get going.
Yeah.
We got to come out of the gate when we get in that red zone. We got to put 7s on the board. And again, I agree with you 100%. Defensively, we got to stop the run first and foremost. That got to be the number one priority, is stopping the run.
Now, is it a big deal? It's Saturday night, a little bit of a shorter week, but one day, does that make a difference?
Well, you love it as a player now. Short weeks later in the season, you can deal with those. Short weeks in the early part of the season when people are still trying to figure out calls, that's different. But as a veteran, you love getting a Saturday night game.
You're rolling now.
Yep, we're ready to go. We're ready to go. It doesn't matter where the game is, what time it is now. We're locked and loaded. We're ready.
Show up. We'll play anywhere.
Anywhere.
Okay, I like
Absolutely.
it. I like it. It's the first time in 15 matchups that both the Lions and Broncos have a winning record when they faced each other. So this is a big game for sure. The Broncos have won 3 straight against Detroit. All right, that's going to do it for us. Our thanks to Troy Rank and Sidney Jones, and us here at the desk. My man Ryan Harris, Mr. Hoff, Steve Atwater. I am Phil Milani. Thank you so much for watching Broncos Weekend.